Welcome back, everyone. I am excited to introduce our next speaker to you. You know, we have over the last 4 days, this is our fourth day, we've been taking a remarkable journey together. We've slowed down long enough, I hope, to hear ourselves again. We're starting to consider the stories, the roles, the identities we want to let go of. We're reclaiming words that reflect who we truly are, and we are remembering that we do not have to walk this path alone. And now there is one final invitation, and that truly is to begin to live it. Because, you know, inside is beautiful, healing is beautiful, but eventually there comes a moment when we begin to go back into the conversations of our everyday life, the relationships of our everyday life, the work that we do, our families, our communities. And often that requires something that many of us have spent years learning to silence. And we're not going to do it anymore. We are not going to surrender our voice. We're not going to return back into our world with a voice that other people expect us to have, with a voice that seeks approval, but rather we are going to begin to express ourselves and to stand in our authentic voice, in the voice of "this is who I am." And our final guest today has spent her life helping people discover the confidence that they need to trust themselves, to speak with authenticity, and to truly step courageously into the lives that they were meant to live. She is a coach, a trainer, a speaker, an entrepreneur, and also a lifelong advocate for personal growth. She is known for one simple practice that says so much about the way she lives. Janice is a courageous woman, and she shares her insight and her wisdom and helps others to step into their courage in the work that she does and in the relationships that she has. Please join me in welcoming Janice to our community. And my friend, I just jump in and ask the first question. So
Okay.
many women struggle to use their voice. Why do you think trusting ourselves enough to speak from our place of truth and authenticity feels so difficult?
That's a loaded question, and there's a lot of answers there. I believe we've been shut down for millennia. I think women have been just shut down and called bossy and other words that we don't need to put on the air. But we have been put in a place of saying, you need to be quiet. You need to just, as a kid, sit down and shut up. So And so we grow up and in a society that has, in recent decades, really embraced more women speaking out. It's just relearning that we don't have to listen to that voice anymore because it's somebody else's voice. It's not yours. It's a voice that is been programmed in your brain to say, you don't have anything to say, so sit down and shut up, to be very blunt. We just haven't trusted ourselves. And really, a lot of times I've been in meetings and I didn't want to speak up because I didn't think what I had to say had any value. And I've learned that that's not true. We all have something to contribute.
So it's been culturally, we've been taught culturally to be quiet. And,
I,
and even if we speak, to say what's expected of us, not necessarily what we actually believe or feel or think.
Exactly. Exactly. And it can come from all sources. I mean, it can come from religion, it can come from politics, it can come from your person in your life, be that a partner or a friend. Th- And so, one of my encouraging words is if you've got something to say it. Be kind, but say it.
And let the chips fall where they may, so to speak, eh? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's silence no more.
And that does take some courage.
Mhm.
Yes. So
Yes.
how do you let's shift for a minute and let's talk about courage. What is courage and how do we cultivate that in our lives?
Oh boy, another loaded question. I have I have looked back at my life and I've seen where I was courageous. And Laureen, I honestly didn't feel courageous or brave or anything like that at the time. At that time, I was just doing what I had to do, moving forward. It's kind of like, you just hit your pants up and get moving. it's not a it's not so courage can be cultivated by doing something, just doing something, and not sitting there and wanting to do it or wishing you could do it. But even if it's just the simplest step, I say baby steps. Take a baby step, do something. But courage comes when you need it, and rarely do you know you're being courageous. That's been my experience.
Okay. And so you can develop, I think of this as like a muscle, the way you've described it, right? You do it in baby steps and it gets stronger and stronger. And then at some moment when the world is requiring something super courageous of you, you have the strength to do it. You just make it happen because you see a need and
Mhm.
it needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. We tend to hold ourselves back out of fear of what other people think. And if I've learned anything through the stuff I've been through, it's that it doesn't matter what other people think. What do you think and what do you want? And that's been the whole topic this weekend. It's like what speaks to you and what do you have to say?
And so, from the perspective of the women in this room today, we are going to go back into our regular lives, if not this afternoon, tomorrow morning. We're going to wake up and have everything go back to every day. What
Right.
what's the piece of advice you would give me when I wake up tomorrow morning to hold on to what I have today and begin to step by step by baby step, begin to express myself more authentically?
I'd say ask yourself one question, and that is, what is it what do I feel calling me, but I haven't had the courage to step up and do? What little thing can I do? And maybe changing what you have for breakfast, maybe going for a walk when you haven't. Something simple, keep it simple, but find one thing that you can do that is different than what you did the day before. And say, okay, I'm going to start writing in a journal, and that takes courage to write out your thoughts. So I would say keep it simple, but ask yourself, what is it I really feel calling to me?
So what is my to me I heard what is my truth right now? What
Right,
what
right,
is what do I need to do based on my truth right now?
right, right,
And if it's a big thing, break it down
right, right.
into
We're
a
always
small step. Yeah, into a small step.
Mhm.
And so, if I've always had eggs for breakfast because everybody in my family eats eggs for breakfast and I hate eggs to be honest, then okay, I'm going to have oatmeal or I'm going to make one small little shift here. I mean that sounds like a silly example, but it's a little baby thing, right?
Well, it is, but most of us have seen The Runaway Bride. As for me, I've seen it like 100 times. And so I even wrote about this particular topic in a blog called The Runaway Bride. And there's a place in there where she's finally cut loose of all the men.
Mhm.
She's run away from the last one. And so she starts making eggs in different, I love the egg analogy. So she starts making eggs in eggs Benedict, scrambled eggs, fried eggs, poached eggs. So she does all this and tries them all. And in doing so, she didn't even know what kind of eggs she liked until she did that. And she realized eggs Benedict, I think, was her favorite. So it's a matter of she had to find out what is it she really liked. And I have absorbed so much in my life of what other people wanted, what other people liked. And for instance, in my life, in this recent marriage of mine, it was Chinese food. It seemed like we went out for Chinese so much. Now I don't even care. I don't care to ever have it again. But I was going along to get along. Where are you going along to get along to? And it's not really the genuine you.
And so, what are some tools women can use to explore what they really like, what they really want, what they I mean, how do we get to know that about ourselves? Because we don't, if we've been hiding it for years, if it's been buried deep inside of us, how do we bring that forth, Janice?
Sit down and get a get a notebook, a piece of paper, get yourself a pen, and just sit. Whether you go outside and sit in a, quiet spot in the woods or outside your house, get some fresh air, sit down with a pen and paper. If you like to draw something and doodle, write, okay, what is it I really like? It's You're going to have to search deep down inside and go, okay. Well, for me, the last time I had Chinese food, I realized I don't really like this. Why am I eating this? And I realized that it wasn't me it was somebody else renting space in my head. And ask yourself, okay, is this voice I'm listening to, is this what I like, or is it somebody else that programmed me? Or is it somewhere else I've let somebody rent a room in my brain? And for me, that was the case. I had just taken on their persona, their likes. So I didn't even know what I liked. I was truly like the runaway bride. What did I really, really like? And and so, I went, oh, well, Italian's my favorite food, not Chinese. So, so it just took me time to, I think sometimes it's trial and error. I really do. Sometimes it's like the try different eggs, or if you don't like eggs, get oatmeal, get something. But it's a matter of sitting with yourself, and that is a very uncomfortable place. Now that takes courage. Sitting with yourself takes courage. Just being by yourself with yourself.
Yes, and sometimes it helps. I found I just set a timer. So I'll set a 5 minute timer on my phone, and it's like I'm just going to sit here. And I can write down in my journal the thoughts that come through that I think need to be noted, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. I'm just going to sit here and
Mhm.
just see what shows up.
Yep.
And then once I have it on paper, I can begin to explore that a little bit more in detail and draw from that what resonates to me at this moment and how can I explore that. 5 minutes, 5 minutes a day. We do this. Not 50, not 500, just five. It becomes a pattern for us. I think someone earlier today said something about you just keep doing habits. You develop a habit. So I write for 5 minutes a day, and I release it, and I let whatever I wrote come back to me throughout the day as I need it,
Mhm.
and as my body wants to give me some insight into what is going on. So it becomes a reflective practice.
It does. It truly does. It's a matter of just give yourself that gift. Sit down and do it. Don't feel pressured. If you feel if it's a strain or you feel anxious about it, do something else. However, doing something different helps to reprogram your brain and develop new synapses in your brain. So I started coloring again. I love coloring. I could just do it for hours
Mhm.
because it heals the body and the mind, but it also makes me focus on something totally different. And so it frees up space in my brain to be more creative.
I love that example because I also, weirdly enough, I like to color. And what I have found is I get very relaxed when I color. And then a whole stream of thoughts come into my head about stuff that I gave myself a window of time to just let my mind think,
Right.
and let my heart feel. And then things emerge from that. Um,
Exactly.
for me as well, poetry writing becomes that as well. It sounds like it's work, but it actually is play
Yeah.
and very relaxing for me. And out of that, stuff comes up. And if it's scary, speaking of confidence or courage, I should say, then we just remind ourselves it's only for 5 minutes.
Right.
It's only coloring. Just let it go. For five
Mhm.
minutes, you can do this until you want to make it 10 minutes, until you want to make it 15, or however long it is you want to expand that into your life. But
Mhm.
I would say if you want courage in your life and you want to use that courage to live your life aligned, which is what we have been talking about these last 4 days, then allowing yourself these moments, allowing yourself to become self-reflective, allowing yourself time to listen to yourself becomes really critical.
Yes, it is. This is the first time in 37 years I haven't had a pet, and of course, no spouse and no kids. I do have, and I live in a quiet space, which this morning, ironically, I was sitting here going, it's eerily quiet. I mean, really, really quiet. And that's a healthy thing to have in your life, is a place where it is so quiet you can hear yourself think, because we're in a culture and a time where there is so much noise, and it's not just social media, there's noise everywhere. And taking that time to listen to what is going on in your own heart is it's really vital to our survival, I think, personally.
Yes, I agree. And the weird thing is what I've discovered driving my car, I used to like to have music on and
Mhm.
turned way up. And it's rare that I put the music on anymore.
Mhm.
I actually enjoy driving in my car with nothing playing. So
Mhm.
there's silence. And
Mhm.
it's almost irritating to me when I get in somebody else's car and they've got the music on. I'm like, can we just turn that off, please? So we can actually have a conversation and hear ourselves think. So seeking silence, seeking quiet in our day becomes important as well.
Does everybody remember that song by, oh gosh, Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence?
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go.
Yep.
So when we do this, when
Hmm.
we create space in our life for silence, for quiet, when we open ourselves up either through journaling or coloring or whatever it is that relaxes us enough to begin to hear ourselves and our voice speak, what what changes? What happens in your experience or with the women and men that you work with? What happens?
At first they get scared. Like, um, they're like, I don't know if I want to hear what I'm thinking. Well, it's affecting your life. It is our thoughts create our world. And I don't know if everybody knows that or is, in tune with that. But our thoughts literally have energy and they create our world. That is a scary thing when you look at your life and go, I created this. I didn't mean to. No, you didn't. But that's literally because I've looked at mine and gone, oh man, I was not thinking good at all. So, what happens is you start to create a new life for yourself when you go, okay, I've been really negative and I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize I have created such an environment, and I didn't realize I've been so negative. So when you start to sit down, be quiet, do some writing, whatever works for you, you'll realize where your thoughts have been and how they have impacted your surroundings. And our thoughts, we're always thinking, ladies, we're always thinking. There's not a time when, well, when we're asleep, the subconscious does it for us. But when you're awake, you're always thinking. And matter of fact, if you consider, you're sitting there reading the paper, drinking your coffee, going, well, I'm getting hungry. So what do I want to eat? You're thinking before you do it, before you have it. Your thoughts, you always think ahead of your actions. And if you realize your thoughts have been not what you want, that's this. It is scary. It is scary to sit with a quiet and realize taking responsibility for your thought life. Yes, that takes courage. But you do it once. It is addicting, isn't it, Lorraine? To start to realize, oh, I want to have a different life. This is not what I want. Well, what do I want? What have I been thinking? And it does change. It changes your life for the better. It'll bring the right people to you to help you as well. But there are our brains are so busy these days with social media, all the other stuff going on around us, that if we don't sit still and be quiet, we're going to just keep circling like a merry-go-round, staying in that space.
And part of that, Janice, as you were describing that to me, it's like it's really easy to fall into a trap of judging yourself.
Oh,
That as you start to learn more about who you are, it's really easy to say, "Oh, that was bad thinking. That was wrong thinking. Oh, well, how I've wasted all these years doing this." And we go into this loop of self-criticism,
right,
condemnation, and we don't get out of it.
right.
So, from that perspective, how does a person falling into that little trap bring themselves out?
Realize that you're being hard on yourself. If you see that, oh my goodness. And I've done a lot of teaching and training and writing about that particular issue because we do tend to judge ourselves more harshly than anybody else, you know. But learning that you can be kinder to yourself. Well, I didn't know any better at the time. I did my best. I did not know any better. I did the best I could. Give yourself a lot of grace and a lot of space and say, okay, I can change from here. I can do things differently. I can think differently. You've got to be very kind to yourself and gentle. Start with looking in the mirror, look in your own eyes and go, I really like you. Just tell yourself, I really like you. You're a good person and you've done the best you could. Now, realize somebody else is probably renting space in that brain, so that mind somewhere. And and so, what we hear, we do tend to repeat. So if you have been with someone who's not been kind to you and you've heard them saying you're bossy, you're this, you're that, um, and you probably wind up telling yourself that.
I think
But
that's also a really important distinction to begin to make. Who
mm,
is this speaking right now in
right.
my inner dialogue? Because your heart, your essence will never criticize you. Your
Mm-mm,
heart, your essence will, my experience has been always have compassion and love for you. And when there is this other voice that comes through, it's somebody else that you've invited in,
mm-hmm,
and maybe you've invited in years ago, and they're there, and you can just say thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to focus on this right here,
mm-hmm,
this message that I'm getting.
exactly.
Um, and you made me think of Louise Hay a moment ago when you said, tell yourself that you love yourself, that you are a kind and compassionate and good person. She has this thing called mirror work, where you
Mm-hmm,
look in the mirror at yourself and you talk to yourself with kindness and with self love. And even if you don't feel it at the moment, she says, keep doing this. It becomes like Laura was talking earlier today about words. It becomes the
mm-hmm,
words that you use to speak to yourself. You are courageous. You are beautiful. You are brilliant.
mm-hmm,
I'm always struck by the language other people and myself use to criticize ourselves. Well, that was stupid. How silly could that have been? So again, it comes back to attention to the words we use to talk to ourselves
mm-hmm.
and to judge us.
Right. And if you wouldn't talk to look at yourself as a 5 or 3-year-old or whatever and say, would you talk to a child that way? Your inner child, you're doing that. So if you wouldn't talk to a little kid that way, your grandchild or whoever it might be, then why are you talking to yourself like that? Why are you why are you doing that? So you might want to ask yourself, okay, why am I being so hard on myself?
Hmm.
And I grew up in a generation, it's not so politically correct to spank these days, but I grew up in a generation, it was perfectly okay. It didn't, I mean, I survived it. I probably made a better person out of me. But literally, if you're talking saying, why did I do that? That was stupid. Then stop and go, okay, now I'm 5 years old. So would I talk to myself as a 5 year old that way? No, nope. I mean, we all do the best we can. And I think that is the point of reference we need to take is um, talk to yourself like you're a little kid. Go, okay, let's go color and have some fun. So,
Absolutely. And also forgiveness. We
yes,
learn to forgive ourselves. We recognize we're human. We make mistakes. Um, these are all things that um, will stop us from moving forward if we allow them to continue. So we want to be on alert for the language we use with ourselves, the judgments that we give and place on ourselves, the voices that have rented space in our head that are not do not have our self-interest, do not have our best interest in mind. And then the quiet, the reflection that allows the voice that does have our self interest in mind to emerge forth through that journaling, through the quiet moments where we just color and listen to what comes through for us with kindness and compassion.
exactly.
I want to throw this open to the group now. We've had a few comments in the chat that we're looking at. Questions for Janice or comments that you want to share about your experiences in beginning to speak your truth and beginning to step into the life that you were meant to live. Let me ask you a question. How many of you feel like you talk to yourself in very highly positive terms? That you have a really terrific relationship with yourself? I'm not seeing any hands. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my,
okay. So I'm assuming that it might be the other way around, that we talk to ourselves in less than positive terms. Okay. Sarah, a comment, a question? Join the conversation, girlfriend.
Well, I find myself doing that very negative self-talk. If I do something, if I forget to do something, oh, you're stupid or whatever. But then I stop myself and I say, wait a minute, stop this. This is not being kind to yourself. But there's a lot of times when those voices in my head berate me. And I had an ex-husband who would tell me he'd call me lazy girl if I didn't do something. And that voice is still back there telling me negative thoughts about myself. Or, a kid in grade school turned around and looked at me and said, oh, you're so ugly. Those are voices that still are back there in the back of my brain. And it's like, how do I just flush them out? Say, get rid of them.
well, you're catching them, Sarah. That would be my first thing to say to you is you're catching the voice. And one technique I've started a couple of years ago is that voice pops up and I go, stop. That's not me. No. And that's the time you turn around and say, no, I love you. That's not me. I'm not listening to that. Just get a big old red stop sign in your head and go, stop, stop. And that does stop the brain from continuing to go down that road, but you're catching it because I lived with an ex like that too. And not doing this right, you can't do anything right. So use a big old red stop sign in your brain. And when you catch yourself, which I applaud you for catching yourself, is to say, nope, that's not me. Stop. You'll probably never 100% get rid of it, but you can evict a lot of those voices.
I
I like the idea of evicting. I think that's
yeah.
a great one. Evict that person
Evict
from
it.
your,
No
That's
more
right.
no more rent free for you.
yeah,
No.
exactly.
Time to move on. I'll share that I grew up with a very acidic, caustic, if those are the right words, father, who did a lot of that for me growing up. And what I have learned is I pay attention to the words I speak to myself now. A lot. I pay a lot of attention. And like some of you in the audience, I think now I'm more 80% positive and 20% I fall into the negative trap. And over time, I'm hoping that that becomes 90, then 95, then 100%. I'm more positive. So again, it's another muscle that we start to develop in ourselves. But the beginning is, like Janice said, you catch yourself first and then you stop it. You disrupt the pattern, you stop.
Hmm.
Yes. And Tammy
Yeah.
says, I've recently started to replace negative thoughts when I make a mistake by saying, well, that was less than ideal, which is less harsh, but still recognizes I would do something different next time. I love that. Yes, it's a lot kinder and a lot more compassionate.
Hmm.
And it also isn't you fool or you ding dong or you whatever. You're just noticing, observing the situation and speaking to that, not speaking to who you are as a person. So great.
Yeah, that's right.
And so here's a question again to the audience. What is the link here between the self-talk we have and our ability to live in our truth and speak it and express it in your minds? Do you see a link at all? Tammy's nodding, yeah. Okay. What is it? What is that link, my friends? Help us. Lorraine says, it's so sweet. My 27-year-old son calls me on those negative comments when I get overwhelmed. You have a support system, you have a cheer squad, and sometimes negative things come out after my brain injury and before too. Yes, that's you have an extra load that you're carrying, Lorraine, with that injury.
Mhm. That's true.
And Lainey, yes, and there is also a link to how you treat other people. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
yes. Janice, can you
absolutely.
speak to that?
Absolutely. If you can't talk nice to yourself, then you're going to have a harder time being nice to others, but you're often more nice to others than you are to yourself. And it's important to do that mirror work, go in and talk nice to yourself. And you can say it like in the third person, like Lorraine did, but get in maybe a habit of saying, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am capable, because that gives you a lot of power. And the kindness for yourself will overflow to others. Now, sometimes we are kind to others, but we don't feel the kindness for ourselves. That's where the work comes in. And asking yourself, okay, why? What is going on that I feel um, so mad at myself? Why am I angry with myself? And to speak to someone who said they had a brain injury, well, I lived with someone with a brain injury that didn't do the work. And that's where a lot of the abuse came from. Oh, one of my friends is on here. Hi, Mona. uh, so being kind to yourself will overflow. And when you start feeling better about yourself, you're going to look like sunshine. I think we talked about radiance in that earlier talk. And I thought that was fabulous. I'm into communication. I train on communication and I love words. My mother was an English teacher, so I get real picky with the way people use language. But the way you use language to yourself affects others around you. Again, coming down to your thoughts, you don't have to say it out loud. If you're just thinking, boy, that was a dumb thing to do. But see, doing something stupid and being stupid are two different things. Okay. You've got to separate who you are from what you do. We all make mistakes. We all do stupid stuff. We all make bad decisions. Nobody's perfect and nobody's going to get off this planet alive. So give yourself that grace. It's like, okay, so I could do it differently. I don't have, I learned. Always take the lesson. Always take the lesson. And so when you go, okay, I learned I did something really stupid, but that doesn't make me stupid. So learn from it, take the lesson, and go and laugh. Now here's a big point. In my journal, you'll see a lot of blogs that I've written that I laugh at myself because I'm looking back at my life going, oh, wow, I don't think I'll do that again. And learn to laugh at yourself. I promise you that helps. It really, really does. I have done some really dumb things and go, okay, well, if you learn the lesson and laugh at yourself, it's easier to give yourself that grace.
Sometimes that laughter is a form of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, one last question, Janice, and then we're going to wrap this up. But I wanted to ask, so what is the link between how we talk to ourselves and our ability to step forward and live our life with courage? True.
The link is you're reprogramming your brain. And when you start communicating better with yourself, it is a courageous act, and you can take that first baby step. And like Lorraine said, if it's just making something different for breakfast because you didn't really like what you've been eating every day and you didn't admit it to yourself. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I always have to look at everything in context. Hey, why did I go to eat Chinese food so much? Oh, I was trying to perform at bay. And so making different choices. But the link is just that kindness to yourself, and the way you talk and think gives you the courage to take the next step.
Ultimately, we learn to trust ourselves, don't we?
Yes. Ultimately, yeah, I was going to say that. I wrote that down.
Yeah, I read your mind.
You did. Yeah, learning to trust yourself is huge. And honestly, I never stepped into, I accidentally became a coach. I kind of accidentally started a podcast. I kind of fell into writing a book. So you don't always have to have a plan and say goals are good, but sometimes things just come your way and you go, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. And enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
I think when you live in alignment, more and more things just come to you without you having to effort for them. They are in alignment with who you are. You attract, you seek, they
Yeah.
seek you,
Mhm.
those things.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I'm glad you like that, Yolanda. All right, and I'm gonna say thank you. Thank you, my friend Janice, for your words of wisdom, your encouragement. I also want to thank you for your unwavering belief that anything can become possible when we begin to trust ourselves.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
throughout this whole summit, we have been really talking about remembering who we are, releasing all those things that no longer serve us. And sometimes it's the language we use with ourselves that we need to let go of. And that allows us to reconnect with who we are. You have helped remind us that this is really something important that we need to pay attention to, and that it is through all this inner work, this self reflection, that we then are able to start to speak up, to show up, to be ourselves, to be seen, but not because, oh my gosh, we're just fearless and we could care less, but because truly we have begun to trust ourselves more. So,
Mhm.
again, thank you for sharing your time with us today.